Russia has notified the United States about its plan to carry out annual exercises of its nuclear forces, the U.S. government said on Tuesday, a move that Washington said lowers the risk of miscalculation at a time of reckless Russian nuclear rhetoric. The United States has said it expects Russia to carry out test launches of missiles during its annual GROM, its exercises of strategic nuclear forces, noting in the past it has fired intercontinental ballistic missiles. Russia on Tuesday additionally took charges to the UN Security Committee that Ukraine is planning to utilize a dirty bomb
on its own area, a declaration straight accused by Western and Ukrainian authorities as falsehood and a guise for heightening the conflict. So right off the bat, the West, of course, is yelling false flag. But anytime those words false flag are thrown their way, they start acting like it's some kind of conspiracy, or you're some kind of a Russian puppet, or you're a Russian apologist. And they pretend that false flags are not real. But, Russia does false flags, with Ukrainian powers progressing into Russian-involved Kherson territory, compromising a significant loss for Moscow. Russian authorities called their Western partners on Sunday and Monday to convey their charges about it. Ukraine's leader Zelensky said the charge showed Moscow was arranging such an assault with hazardous gadget bound with radioactive material and trying to fault Kiev. Yet questions are likewise coursing about whether Moscow could utilize a lower-yield strategic nuclear weapon. US President Joe Biden warned Moscow on Tuesday that such a move would be an incredibly serious mistake. I'm not guaranteeing you that it's a false flag operation yet. We don't know, but it would be a serious mistake. Ballistic and cruise missiles were launched from the Arctic to Russia's Far East, the Kremlin said. The US was told about the drill under the terms of the New START arms treaty. The launches took place as Russia makes unsubstantiated claims that Ukraine was plotting to use a dirty bomb. A dirty bomb is an explosive device mixed with radioactive material, and the Russian allegations have been widely rejected by Western countries as false. Kiev warned the claims indicate Moscow itself could be preparing such an attack. The last Russian nuclear drill took place 5 days before it invaded Ukraine. Ahead of the latest exercise, military officials in Washington pointed out that in notifying the US, the Russians were complying with arms control obligations. NATO is also staging its own nuclear exercises, dubbed Steadfast Noon, in northwestern Europe. The Western Defense Alliance said training flights involving 14 countries were taking place until Sunday over Belgium, the UK, and the North Sea. Russia's exercises were being held against a backdrop of a flagging campaign in southern and eastern Ukraine. Moscow has sent troops into the key southern city of Kherson to help defend it. Russia took Kherson in the early days of the war, but recently has come under pressure as the Ukrainian troops advanced. Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu was seen on Russian TV saying that the aim of the drill was for military command and control to practice carrying out a massive nuclear strike by the strategic nuclear forces in retaliation for the enemy's nuclear strike. A Yars intercontinental ballistic missile was launched from the Plistek Cosmodrome, some 800 kilometers north of Moscow, and a Sineva ballistic missile was fired from the Barents Sea to the remote Kura test site in Kamchatka province in Russia's Far East, the Kremlin said. All missiles reached their targets, it added. President Putin was shown on Russian TV watching a video feed of the launch. Footage was also broadcast of remarks he gave to a conference of regional intelligence services in which he doubled down on his accusations of a Ukrainian dirty bomb plot. He also repeated what the West is saying, baseless allegations made by Russia in recent months against Ukraine, including that it had been turned by the US into a testing ground for military biological experiments. Ukrainian Defense Oleksiy Reznikov said on Wednesday that my personal opinion is that Putin won't use nukes. Separately, he told US TV that Ukraine's counteroffensive in the south had been hampered by rainy weather. In an address to the nation in September, Mr. Putin said his country had various weapons of destruction and would use all the means available to us. Following the remarks, the EU's foreign policy chief, Joseph Borrell, told the BBC that it's a dangerous moment in the war because the Russian army has been pushed into a corner, and Putin's reaction, threatening using nuclear arms, is very bad. And one thing that is constant in this whole war is you don't see pushes for peace. You don't see any kind of talks at that. And when you see people talking about, we need to bring peace, they always get called a Russian apologist, and somehow peace means you're a Russian operative. And I don't think people are really seeing how serious this whole thing is. A nuclear war would change our whole way of life in ways that hard to even fathom. But we have our warmongers all in our leadership positions in politics who don't give a shit because they're rich and they have their bunkers or whatever it may be. Maybe they don't take it serious, but it is a fact that nuclear war and the uses of any of these kind of weapons is very serious, and these kind of threats need to be taken serious, and peace needs to be taken serious above all.